Hey there, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of Vegas Valley Water. It's a show all about water in the desert and how the Las Vegas Valley Water District delivers it to you safely and reliably every time you turn on the tap. I'm John Castanino, and I'm going to cover a lot of interesting topics with you as we flow through the show over the next 30 minutes. First off, you might be surprised to learn resorts and casinos are actually leaders in our community when it comes to water conservation. It's true, and they only consume a small portion of our overall water resources. We're going to give you a look at what MGM Resorts does, which includes the use of water from its own private well. Plus, a new major pipeline project is coming to add even more reliability to the city's water system. It's called the Horizon Lateral. Before we get into all that, let's introduce you to where we're filming this episode. It's the Thomas A. Campbell Pump Station and Reservoir. This facility opened back in 1969 and was one of the first facilities built by the Water District to pump water from Lake Mead and deliver it to Southern Nevada. It's still running strong today with a retro look, but some really fascinating modern technology. Throughout the episode, we're going to give you a tour of this place, its history, and how it's utilized today. Many people refer to Las Vegas as an oasis in the desert. Problem with that is we're not an oasis when it comes to water availability. Now, there's some myths around water usage in our state's biggest industry of resorts and casinos. They continue to make strides to conserve during a historic drought. In addition to the 2.2 million residents that call the Las Vegas Valley home, we've also got about 150,000 hotel rooms and 40 million annual visitors. When we look around at the neon and see the fountains and the pools and the people on the Las Vegas Strip, you'd naturally assume the first myth we discuss is true, that resorts use a large portion of our water resources. It's false, however, and simply not the case.
Before I dispel the myth about resort water use, I want to dispel the myth about Southern Nevada water use. The truth is, in the 1920s, the state of Nevada got allocated 2% of the Colorado River. Within that small use of 2% of the allocation, resorts actually only use about 7% of that 2%.
Yes, 100 years later, Southern Nevada still makes do with only 2% of the Colorado River, and the resorts and pools you see make up only a small portion of overall water use in Southern Nevada. 6.9% in 2019 to be exact, and that portion of water is vital.
We employ 21% of the state's workforce, and we're the primary driver of the state's economy, as we all know. So the water we do use in our buildings to operate our resorts essentially enables the state's economy. It is the most precious resource. So we are very cognizant of that as MGM Resorts and do a lot every day to try and recognize the preciousness of that resource.
One of the main reasons that resorts account for a small percentage is because most resort water is used indoors. And in Southern Nevada, almost every drop of indoor water is treated and returned to Lake Mead. Any water we use outdoors, however, is lost. Reducing outdoor water use is the greatest opportunity for everyone in Southern Nevada to conserve. MGM Resorts and other properties along the Strip are doing exactly what the Water District and Southern Nevada Water Authority encourage, that's remove grass.
In the resort corridor at MGM, we've converted over 200,000 square feet of real turf to artificial. We've converted a lot of landscaping from more thirsty in terms of water to less thirsty in terms of water. So where we are today, the park, next to Park MGM, we use drought-tolerant landscaping. We're very cognizant of the species we've chosen. They don't need as much water. We've also got drip irrigation, so instead of a large volume of water, we can just use a tiny amount. And finally, we use these things called anemometers, which are basically wind detectors. And when the wind is high, you want to turn the irrigation down or low so there's less evaporative loss.
This brings us to another myth. The water that supplies our beautiful water features, like the world-famous Bellagio fountains, comes from Lake Mead, our community's primary drinking water source. This is also false. What many of you may not realize is that many of the water features that MGM uses are actually powered by what they have underground.
Including at MGM, Bellagio fountains and the park, are actually drawing water from well water. We've got a pretty plentiful groundwater aquifer in the Las Vegas region, and we're drawing from that aquifer for our water features.
In total, MGM owns 10 wells that they can pump from to supply many of their properties, such as the Bellagio fountains, water features at New York, landscape irrigation, and even for some indoor uses. That water is directly underneath the feet of our visitors and not from Lake Mead.
But when we draw from the groundwater aquifer, we're using less water from Lake Mead. So that is encouraged.
Other areas MGM Resorts have focused on to lower its water usage are low-flow fixtures, even dishwashers.
You think about a resort the size of an area, 17 million square feet. That's a lot of dishes we need to wash. So we've been very cognizant of the equipment we choose.
The company has reduced its water usage per square foot by 30% since 2007. Its next phase is addressing cooling towers, which use water to cool indoor spaces.
There are many technologies now coming onto the market where we can explore how to further that reduction of consumptive water use.
So when the Water District looks at water conservation, it understands resorts power much of Southern Nevada's economy. But casino corporations like MGM are also partners in ensuring a sustainable water future for everyone.
In terms of the conservation goals that the region has and the state has, we're on the same team.
Hi, I'm Crystal, and I have a question for you. What percentage of water in Southern Nevada gets used outdoors? 20%? Nope. 40%? Not that either. It's actually 60%. A vast majority of the water used in the Las Vegas Valley goes to watering grass and other outdoor landscapes. As we prepare for the onslaught of triple-digit heat, we're asking you to help our community conserve its most precious resource, water. There are a couple things you can do to reduce your outdoor water use. If you have grass, replace it with desert landscaping like you'll find here at the Springs Preserve. The savings is tremendous. 1 square foot of grass consumes about 73 gallons of water each year. Imagine a column of water 10 feet high. That's the amount of water used for only 1 square foot. Compare that to 1 square foot of desert landscaping using drip irrigation, which only uses 17 gallons of water each year. That column would only be 3 feet high. The Southern Nevada Water Authority offers a rebate of $3 a square foot to convert your grass to water-smart landscaping. The other thing you can do is follow the law. Follow mandatory seasonal watering restrictions. Beginning May 1st, mandatory summer watering restrictions are in effect. Don't water between the hours of 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. and never on Sundays. You can water up to 6 days a week, but increase watering days gradually. By doing that, you're doing your part to conserve, and your landscape can tolerate it.
Whether you have plants on a drip system or a lawn on a traditional spray system, the landscape doesn't know that on May 1st, suddenly it's going to expect double the amount of water. So we want to watch the weather, we want to watch the condition of our landscape and make a slow transition, adding another day if needed, and then another day possibly later in the summer if needed.
Between the hours of 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., the sun is out and temperatures are toasty.
We don't want to try to water, whether it be lawn sprinklers or drip irrigation, in the midday heat. So a lot of that water will just be lost to evaporation. So there's a restriction between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m.
You can be fined if you water between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. or for watering on Sundays. These restrictions are all designed around water conservation. Why? Because we're in the midst of a historic drought along the Colorado River, where we get 90% of our water supply from.
Last year left us with a very hot summer and very dry soil conditions. So this year, Our snowpack is below average, and we're projecting even further below average inflow into the reservoirs because that dry soil is going to soak up what snowpack we do have on the ground.
The result of another year of below average flows from the Colorado means it's likely we'll experience our first federally declared shortage on the Colorado River in 2022. And Nevada will be given a smaller share of water from the river that supplies more than 40 million people.
And when we look at what we need to do here locally, some of our conservation trends are heading in the wrong direction, particularly when we look at these outdoor water uses.
Almost all water used indoors is treated and recycled, but anything used outdoors is lost. So please do your part and conserve outdoor water and change your clock each season. For more information, visit lvvwd.com.
Welcome back inside the Thomas Campbell Pump Station and Reservoir, located right in the heart of the valley near US 95. Now, you've likely driven past it dozens or even hundreds of times not knowing what's here. Well, it serves two vital purposes. It stores up to 40 million gallons of high-quality drinking water, and it pumps it to various locations around town before delivering it to your home or business. To do all of that, we need to use these babies right here. Now, I get it, they're not actually babies. They have been around for quite some time. In fact, these are the original engines when the pump station was opened back in 1969. They've been overhauled and they've been upgraded with modern electronics like this over the years, but it's still the same beautiful original style and same original fuel source of natural gas. In total, 5 V6 motors and 7 V12 motors can each pump up to 7,000 gallons of water per minute, and in 1975, 4 electric motors were added. In total, this facility can move about 100,000 gallons of water each minute. So this place is a bit of a look back in time at the early days of the Las Vegas Valley Water District, but let's now look ahead and give you a glimpse at the future of water delivery to Southern Nevada.
Reliability is one of the cornerstones of the Las Vegas Valley Water District, that whenever you turn on your tap, we meet the demand. Hi, I'm Adriana Ventimiglia, Senior Program Engineer with the district, and I want to introduce you to a critical water infrastructure project in Southern Nevada, a new water transmission pipeline designed by the Southern Nevada Water Authority to keep our water delivery system one of the most reliable in the country. It's called the Horizon Lateral. Existing water deliveries to the southern part of the valley, including Henderson, are currently provided by a single water transmission line. The new Horizon Lateral will provide a second water pipeline to ensure continued, reliable service to current water users in this part of our community and also help meet the area's future water needs. Here are some facts about the Horizon Lateral project. It calls for more than 30 miles of new water pipeline. These are big pipes from 6 to 10 feet in diameter. Approximately 8 miles of underground tunneling will be required to house the pipeline. And 4 reservoirs will be built to store water until it's delivered to homes, schools, and businesses. Right now, about 40% of the water delivered to users in Southern Nevada flows through SNWA's existing South Valley Lateral transmission line. It's an important pipeline that supports nearly 1 million people. When completed, the new Horizon Lateral will work in tandem with the existing pipeline to increase service reliability and protect existing water users, while also helping to meet Southern Nevada's future needs. Construction of the Horizon Lateral pipeline, tunneling, and reservoirs is expected to be completed in 2030. Its cost is estimated at about $1.6 billion, reflecting both its scope as well as its importance to ensuring reliable water service. It's here at the River Mountains Water Treatment Facility in Henderson where the Horizon Lateral will begin. River Mountains is one of 2 treatment facilities that supply clean, high-quality drinking water to Southern Nevada. Our low lake level pumping station will draw water from Lake Mead and send it here to be treated before it's delivered through the Horizon Lateral to people living and working in the southernmost part of our valley. As currently envisioned, the Horizon Lateral will run west from River Mountains, which is near Lake Mead, and will end along the south end of the valley, near the Southern Highlands area. The Horizon Lateral is a critical piece to ensuring the future reliability of our community's water system. And while we're doing our part to ensure reliable water supplies and regional water infrastructure for you, we need you to keep doing your part to conserve. Follow the seasonal watering schedule, replace useless grass, report water waste, and continue to stay water smart.
Water Waste Investigator 7158 here on a formal follow-up. Fee is recommended. We come out, we'll warn them the first time, 2 weeks to correct the violation, and then anytime thereafter we can come out, and if we see the repeat of the violation, then we go into fines. So first one is $80, $160, $320, $640, and then $1280. Every technician is trained in water waste, how to report it and how to document it 7 days a week right now, 24 hours a day. We find water waste several ways. I will, as I'm driving through a neighborhood, if I spot water waste or a violation of it, I will go ahead and document it and create the process. One of the new things that has worked really well is the public helping us, where they can report it online by taking a picture of it and report it online. That has helped us tremendously because now we're seeing what the public is seeing, and we can go out and actually investigate that violation and get it videotaped and recorded and start the process to get it corrected. Oh, I love what I do. I mean, we are in a drought and a lot of folks just overwater or don't manage the system, so breaks in the system and all that cause a lot of runoff. And I've been doing it for almost 14 years, and I love when I get a chance to talk to the customer and explain to them what needs to be fixed and how to fix it, and they do.
Welcome back to the Campbell Pump Station and Reservoir that's operated and maintained by the Las Vegas Valley Water District. And joining me now is Mike Reed. He's a mechanical supervisor. He's been with the district for over 18 years now. And Mike, you work at a lot of facilities throughout the valley, but tell us why this one is so unique. We kind of touched on a couple points earlier, but I'll bet it's unique and it's fun to work at, right?
Yes, John, it's definitely unique for the Water District. It's our only pump station that runs off natural gas engines instead of electric motors. A lot of them are original to the station from 1968. They've been rebuilt over the years. We try to keep all that work in-house. Everything from paint, like you can see behind me, to rebuilds of the engines, retrofitting electrical panels, things like that.
And anything that we keep in-house is obviously a cost savings to our customers here in the Las Vegas Valley. Let's focus in a little bit more on what this facility, its role that it plays throughout the valley. Does it push water to a certain place of town? Does it go all over the place? And how much water does it move on an average day?
Average day in the summer will move around 35 million gallons a day, 15 million in the winter. We have 40 million gallons of storage capacity that we also get filled during the day from SNWS. We mainly send water to the strip corridor area, which will then feed out across town and feed the whole valley actually through here.
Yeah, and what can you tell me about who the facility is named after, Thomas A. Campbell?
He's one of the 4 founders of the Water District, and there's actually a street near our headquarters that's actually named after him.
So we're here on level 2. We were up earlier on level 1 of the pump station, but these things caught my eye. So we've got 2 big air compressor tanks, and then the compressors that are next to you, and we use air to start the engines that we showed earlier. Is that true?
Yes, we have 2 compressors behind me that feed these 2 tanks. It compresses air to about 160 psi, sends it through piping to the engines, and they actually have air starters on them that start them, unlike your car that would be with a battery, an electric motor.
Yeah, does it kind of simplify things when you take out the electrical component and just use, something natural like compressed air?
And the compressed air gives it a battery basically in reserve storage that if the power goes out, even they can start without power.
Yeah, cool. So we have some other motors here, though, that are just electric, and we're going to go see those right now?
Yep, you can go down there now.
Okay, Mike, so we're in the electric motor room now. I know we've got 4 of them, and I know they were added in 1975, but what else can you tell us about these motors that we have here?
These electric motors are 1,000 horsepower. They pump about 14,000 gallons a minute through the pumps. They've all been rebuilt within the last 10 years through our pump shop downtown in-house. They're all painted in-house, and we really try to keep the work here.
Yeah, I like the Water District blue, and I think another important point, we're filming this during the middle of the day. These aren't on. They actually run overnight, right, to conserve as much energy as possible.
Normally about 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning when everybody else is asleep.
You're going to let me start a motor, right?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, well, I work here, so I guess they trust me enough to do that. But I know there's one other feature that we want to show off. You were mentioning conserving electricity, but there's another big way that we do that, and it's through gravity. I think we want to talk about that outside.
Yep, we can go up there.
We're now standing on top of the 40 million gallon reservoir. The pump station's behind us, Mike. Tell us about how we use gravity to our advantage.
We use elevations around town. We store the water up high. We let it flow down low. It's not only for cost savings, it's also for fire protection.
Yeah, it saves electricity, and by fire protection, you mean fire hydrants, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, fire hydrants, that way if the power goes out, something like that, we have water available.
Well, Mike, thanks for the tour. Really cool facility, pretty cool, I'm sure it is for you to work on it day in and day out, and thanks for maintaining it for us.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's explain one more component that is vital to water delivery here in the Valley. It's pipelines, and here's more about a recent project that we completed.
The Las Vegas Valley Water District has over 6,800 miles of pipeline serving southern Nevada. So you can imagine the wide variety of components needed to reliably deliver water whenever you turn on your tap. Smaller pipes feeding into individual homes and businesses are relatively simple to maintain, but major pipelines that service hundreds of thousands of customers are a bit more complex. When these main arteries are ready for upgrades, major coordination efforts are put into place to ensure minimal disruptions. Underneath the asphalt of Tropicana Avenue lives a 60-inch diameter pipeline, a main artery that transports water to about 100,000 customers.
Our 60-inch pipeline is really a critical component of our distribution system here because it links our Campbell facilities with our Vail facilities and really is a main arterial that feeds water to the Las Vegas Strip.
Recently, the Tropicana pipeline was upgraded with 4 brand new large valves. You might think draining the pipelines for this type of work would affect homes and businesses, but this job was done without any service interruptions thanks to proactive preparation.
When we design and construct the water system in expansion, we ensure that those areas are very well bolstered to ensure that we have the capability of providing water to our customers under basically any scenario. We can operate valves and we can change where the water comes from to be able to make sure that we don't have any service interruptions.
The upgrade involved a highly detailed bypass plan developed over 8 months to ensure services wouldn't be interrupted during construction. The new valves now allow the district the ability to essentially turn off multiple sections of this crucial pipeline in the event repairs need to be made in the future.
So one of our most critical focuses as the Las Vegas Valley Water District is to maintain the assets that we have in excellent condition. As we all know, we've been in a 20-year drought, and we want to ensure that every drop of water that comes from the lake gets to a tap and doesn't leak into the ground. And so these operations that we're doing right now and this maintenance work that we're doing right now is critical.
The district also timed the project perfectly with the Nevada Department of Transportation when Tropicana Avenue was already scheduled for repavement work. The new valves installed by our distribution crews took place while the road was already dug up, eliminating the time and expense of repaving at another time.
So we have the capability of using our really great internal staff and augmenting with contractors to be as efficient and effective as possible. So the people that are working on this pipeline today are the same people that are maintaining and working on the system day in and day out. And so it's really a great combined effort to ensure that we're minimizing the time frame that we have this pipeline down, but we're accomplishing the maximum amount of work.
The Thomas Campbell pumping station in Reservoir is one of 54 pumping stations that the Water District operates and is one of 79 reservoirs that hold a combined 1 billion gallons of water here in southern Nevada. Now, even though this facility opened 50 years ago, it's still relatively low maintenance. It's got oil pipelines directly connected to the engine, so oil changes are a snap with the turn of a couple valves. And in the summer, this entire space is cooled by the water that flows through it through a unique radiator system. Early settlers to Las Vegas also found creative ways to cool off in the summer. Let's explain in Vegas Valley Water history.
Hi, I'm Pietra Sardelli, part of the special events team here at the Springs Preserve. Now, we're lucky enough that when it gets up to 100 and some odd degrees out here, we can get in our house and cool off. But early Las Vegans didn't have that chance. So they'd come out here along the Las Vegas Creek and cool themselves under the cottonwood trees. Springs all over the valley were used for recreation, some of them even converted into swimming pools or swimming holes. Families would literally pack up their entire homes to create campsites along the creek bed. And that spirit of recreation still continues when you visit the Springs Preserve and enjoy the beauty, the entertainment, and the educational opportunities we offer. Now we're out at another one of our historical attractions here at the Springs Preserve. This is the Big Spring. Now, it was originally built as an earthen reservoir, but in 1925 it was encased in concrete. But in 1926 they added a cover to it to keep out migratory birds and apparently a very invasive species of local townsboy who wanted to escape the heat and would do anything and get through any fence just to get in there and go swimming. In 1905, Harry Beale, apparently a squatter, started one of the early resorts right here along the Las Vegas Creek. He was down by the old fort. He had a dining hall, dance floor, and even a swimming pool that he made by damming up the end of the creek. It was all going along really well until the land was actually purchased by Walter Bracken. Walter Bracken dismantled the entire thing and had Harry pull up stakes. Not to be dissuaded, Bill moved up north onto land owned by Helen J. Stewart, where he recreated the entire thing, allowing visitors and locals to once again get a break from the heat and enjoy the beautiful creek. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and look forward to seeing you next on Vegas Valley Water History.
Well, I'm Fritz Coleman, supervisor at the Springs Preserve, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Ask the Desert Gardener. In this edition, we're going to talk about our new pollinator garden that we've just installed at the Springs Preserve. Our goal with this garden is to demonstrate to local homeowners and property managers some plants that you can install to attract pollinators to your garden year-round. So we've included some species that may be short-lived here, some annual type plantings, some pincushion flowers, and alyssum, which are beloved by pollinators, tend to bloom when it's cooler. And then we've included some native plants like native salvias and buckwheats and milkweeds to attract pollinators during the summer months. This is one of my personal favorite hummingbird attractors. It's called lion's tail, and it's in the mint family, and you can see it blooms in these really cool whorls. You've got the older flowers on top, and then this entire structure here puts out flowers throughout all the way well into early summer. And they top out at about 3 feet. It's highly recommended. It's a really cool thing. Here's one of our near natives that we planted. When I say near native, I mean a plant that's from an area that's close to southern Nevada, but not exactly the same climate. This penstemon is called Margarita BOP. It's a long blooming, beautiful plant that kind of fades from blue to pink as the flowers age, but native bees and other local pollinators love these types of plants. And then directly in front of these, we have the very popular garden annual called alyssum. This plant's also beloved by bees, and it's a reseeding annual, so you'll see this coming back, usually germinating in the fall or early winter, and then starting to bloom in late winter and blooms through spring until the weather gets hot. All right, well, that was a first look at our new pollinator garden. We hope you get a chance to come down and take a look at it soon. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please visit springspreserve.org.
So that's it for this edition of Vegas Valley Water. Big thanks to the folks here at the Thomas Campbell Pumping Station and Reservoir for showing us around. Visit lvvwd.com if you want to learn more about why the Las Vegas Valley Water District is one of the most reliable systems in the country. But now they've got to get back to pumping water again. So I've got my earplugs in and I'm standing next to the motor and they're trusting me to do this. We'll see you next time.